Today we're going to do exercise 3A. So what we do is we go to our section 2 and we open up our Hello by Functions exercise that we made last time. Okay, opening in idle, this is what we have. So now we're going to call this Hello by Variables. So go File, Save As. Now I'm going to go into section 3. I'm going to call this Hello by Variables. What's a variable? We're going to be replacing our values we put in the A2 assignment. We're going to be substituting values with variables. So variables are labels, and what's good with a variable is that a variable varies, and a value is pretty much straightforward. You know, you can say that somebody has wears a size 16, so you can have the value of 16. But if you put size in its place, then you can put whatever particular size happens to meet the occasion. See? When you use a variable, it's kind of like putting in X in math, right? X or Y. So that's what a variable is like. So what we're doing in this project, we're pretty much replacing most of the values with variables so that the person who uses the program can select what color, what size, and what shape they would like for your variables to be. We had given the space width a value of 30. What we're going to do is replace the space width of 30 with a variable called space width. So coming in my program, I make a right up here at the top. I just wrote in what I'm about to do, about to declare a variable. And what variable am I going to declare? I'm going to declare that my space width, and I'm going to give it a value of 30. So now I'm going to go into my space width right here, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to put in here my variable space width. Now all I have to do is save it, and I'm going to run it. It's not going to look any different, but you'll see that it works. It's always a good idea to check your work after you do something so you make sure that nothing's gone wrong. So now that we've done the space width variable, we're going to introduce a variable. We're going to call it letter height. So we're going to replace the 100 for letter height with the letter height variable. And we're also going to declare a variable called letter width. So we're going to do our H. We're going to also have a letter height and a letter width. So now first I declare them. And I save them. Then I run my program. So now let's go in and replace the variables. So now I come up here and I have forward 100. So instead of having 100 here, I'm going to go letter height. Come on down. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the letter height divided by 2, because 100 divided by 2 is 50. So now we're going to do what? We're going to be going the middle bar. So now we're going to do letter width. So now we replace this. We're going back up and down now. So I'm going to do letter height divided by 2. And this one's going to be just plain old letter height. And I'm going to save my file. So before you run it, make sure that your code matches my code. It's width here, height, height. Okay, you divide by 2 right here and here. Okay, make sure the code matches. Now you can run the module. So you see everything's fine so far. So we've determined H is okay. So now we're going to replace it in the E. So we're going to replace the forward as letter height. Second one we'll replace with letter width. Next one is minus letter width. Next one is forward letter height divided by 2. Okay, we're going to do the cross pieces again, so we're doing letter widths again. This is letter width and a minus letter width. So we're turning right again, see that? So this is going to be a letter height divided by 2. And then we turn again, so this is a letter width. And we save this. So we should be able to run it. Okay, so this one we're turning up, so that's got to be letter height. And then we're going to minus, we're going back down, letter height. Then you notice we turn again, so we're going to be doing a letter width. We save it. Then we run it. Okay, on this one, if we're just going straight forward, we're doing a letter width. Now if we're turning, then we're going a letter height. Okay, we're turning again, so that's a letter width. Okay, we're turning again, so that's a letter height. Okay, last of all, we're turning again, and that's a letter width. So then we save it, and we run it. Okay, one of the things you do when you set variables is you experiment around. And you might try different variable values out to see what it looks like. But in this case, what you need to do is you need to make a comment to yourself and let yourself know what you started out with. It's always a good idea. So come back up here. And I'm going to put some comments up here. I'm going to tell myself that my default value for space width is going to be 30. In the next line, I'm going to tell myself that my default value for my height is going to be 100. And my default value for my letter width is going to be 50. So now that you got the default value set, you can play around with these values. We can put this at 10, and we can put this at 60, and this at 30, and save it and see what that looks like. Okay, it looks about the same, but it's pretty small. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some pen colors and widths. So one variable we'll call that pen color, and the other variable we'll call pen width. So I add these variables up here. Pen color is equal to red. Now I have my pen width at 10. So now it's not enough that I have declared them. I've got to call them. So I come all the way to the end here after I have my O. And I'm going to do color, pen color. And we'll do width, pen width. I save it. Now I run it. And that looks different, doesn't it? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to let the user decide what kind of a value he's going to put in there. So we're going to use what's called the input function. So what does the input function do? It just takes something that the user types in and assigns whatever the user typed into the variable in the program. So here's an example. So you put in input and you say enter your name. So that creates a prompt. Input creates a prompt, and the prompt says enter your name. And it'll stay there until the user types something and presses enter. So what you have to do after that is you have to store the information that the user types in. So you need to assign the input function as a value of a variable in the program. So here in Python, if you used input to assign a value to a variable, it's going to look like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the input function to change the pen color and the pen width. So now what we're going to do is we're going to replace the pen width of 10, and we're going to type in input, enter a number between 1 and 10 to set the pen width, space. Okay? So let's give it a shot. Go File, Save. Then we'll run it. So that's with the pen width of 7. So I put in the 7 and it obeyed me. So this time what I do is I change the pen color from red. I just take that out and I put an input statement here as well. I'm going to put input a color name to set the pen color. So now I save it. And now I run it. So there you see, I've chosen my color and my width. So what's the next thing I'm going to do? I'm going to now change my file name to hello by variables ASSN.py. So all I have to do is put my underscore and ASSN and click Save. So I'm doing some other stuff, aren't I? So now I'm going to have the user input the space width. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to type in space width equals input explanation. So what's my input explanation here? I'm going to put in my explanation. Just like I have here, enter a color name to set the pen color. I'm going to put in here, enter a width, a number between 20 to 30 to set the space width. And the reason we're using this as an int function is because we want our number expressed as an integer. So now I'm going to do the same thing with letter height and letter width. I'm going to take away the 100. And now where I have input explanation, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put in here, enter a number between 50 and 200, right? To set the letter height. Going to save it. And I'm going to replace the 50 with the same thing. Let's say enter number between 25 to 50 to set the letter width. So now I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to run it. So I'll put in a number. So there you go. That's my function. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and get my section 2 folder, and I'm going to go get my Hello by Functions assignment and pull up the rest of the Hello World and copy and paste them into my function. So now I go back into my section 2 and get my Hello by Functions assignment here. I'm going to open this up with idle. Okay, I'm going to copy and paste from here my new line and my W and R functions. So I'm going to come over here and copy all these. Oops. Now I'm going to open my Hello by Variables assignment, and I'm going to paste them at the end before my color pen color. So I click here, I go backspace, and I'm going to paste them in here. And I'm going to save my file. Okay, here it says that we're going to replace the values of variables, and we're going to add the rest of the letters at the end. So let me open this up. We'll come on down to the end. We'll add the rest of our letters. So we got our new line, draw a world. So now we're going to come up here and we're going to replace these. So up here my W, my forward is what? That is, we're going up, right? So it's a letter height. Then we go back letter height, 100 letter height. So now we turn and we go forward 25. So that's letter width divided by 2. Then we turn again, and then we're going to go letter height again. And then we're going to go backwards on the letter height. And once again, we're going to go returning, so that means we're going to do a letter width divided by 2. Then we turn again, we're going to be doing a letter height. Then we'll go backwards on the letter height. Okay, and then we turn again, so we're facing in the right direction to do the next letter. So the same thing with the R. Okay, we're turning, so we're going to be going up, so we're going to do letter height. Okay, then we turn, so we're going to be doing letter width. So we're turning again, so we're going to go half the letter height. And we turn again, and we're going to go letter width. And we're going to go backwards letter width. Then we're going to turn again, and we're going to go half the letter height. So we'll save it, and then we'll run it. That's what happens. It runs into each other. You make it too big. But you get the idea. That works. Once again, if you make mistakes, you're going to have error code. See, I've got error code here. I had a misspelling here. Here it tells me that I misspelled the word height. So make sure that you go back and correct. So here it says error letter height. So you can see this misspelling. Okay? So now here's how you get all your points. The program tells the user to enter an integer for the space width. It uses that integer for the space width of the letters. So you have to have an integer for the letter height, integer for the letter width. Draw a new line function, WRLD, and it uses variables for the letter height and width for the R and the W that you added. And the Turtle Graphics window closes when you click on it. So all those should be there in your file, and you should get all the points. And turn in your project to the 3A folder, the 3A Dropbox, and you're done.